720p, regular vision, tape delayed. Eat a plant-based diet and ride your bike, which I did today. I think I did about 18 miles or something. Kind of chilly, but got it in outside. So I'm just recapping. I ended up doing some work on my Jeep today. I made a little kind of summary video, and I do mention it there. In the future, I'm definitely gonna. I gotta just man up or whatever up and person up and set up the tripod and videotape myself actually doing the job, because I picked up some really cool tips on YouTube that helped me do this job. So I had a loud exhaust was the initial problem. You know, you could tell that, wow, okay, my Jeep is sounding loud. And I was like, I don't know what it is. First thing I did, I kind of researched into what might happen with my year, make, and model vehicle. And a lot of people actually had a different problem in what's called the manifold. It's the exhaust very near to the engine, the first kind of part that comes off the engine. And that looked like a pretty intense job. And I was like, ooh, that looks expensive and harder to do for me. I'm a novice mechanic at best. Like, over the years I have done, I mean, when I start to think about it, I have done quite a few little jobs on the cars I've owned. When I've been able to do it, I enjoy it, I guess. I enjoy the thought of doing it. When it comes down to doing it, maybe not as enjoyable. But in any event, I did see a cool video where what you do is you hook up like a shop vac or some kind of blower is what you need. Some shop vacs have a blowing feature, and you just put the blower into your exhaust tailpipe, and you can actually either do two things from there. You can either feel around with your hand if you can get under your car. I have a Jeep with some good clearance, so I didn't even have to jack it up to feel around, but depending on your body size, type, and clearance of your vehicle, you may need to actually kind of jack it up to really see what's going on. In any event, you can spray soapy water on different parts of your exhaust and you'll see it bubble up if there's a leak there because of the air. And the reason why you have to do this is because if you're doing it with your vehicle running, your exhaust gets hot very quickly, and you can't, even if you sprayed something on it, it would evaporate very fast, and it's dangerous because of the heat. So I didn't even need the soap. I just used my hand, and I could feel at the different points where it bolted together a little air here and there. But once I got to the muffler, I put my hand on the top of the muffler where I could not see with my eyes, and I could feel the air flying out of there with the same pressure as the blower, basically. So it was like a hole, and I could feel, I could kind of feel like a hole there. And it turns out there was an even bigger hole further back that I didn't feel, but the first hole was about maybe like the tip of my pinky at biggest. There was a lot of little holes and then one like that. And then the rear hole I could stick fingers into, and it was crumbling away rusty. So once I saw that it was the muffler, I did feel all the other areas, and there was nothing as bad as the muffler. So I said, I need a new muffler. So what I did was, I thought about it. I said, I could probably bring it to the mechanic, and I'm going to guess, based on research and just knowledge, it's going to be about $500. I don't have a personal mechanic out here anymore. I'm in Los Angeles. I used to have one where I grew up and lived most of my life in New York. I had friends and trusted mechanics that would help me with stuff like this. But out here I don't. And I know the job would be at least $500 for parts and labor. Now, I was able to pick up a muffler and another piece. Actually, I picked up the tailpipe, the muffler, and another piece for about $200. And it turns out there's nothing wrong with my tailpipe, and I was able to put it together in a way such that I can return the $60 tailpipe. So I ended up doing the job for $140 in parts, plus a couple clamps. So about $150 in parts versus paying $500. Now, I did need some tools. Luckily, I have a cool neighbor. He has one of those really cool floor jacks and what's called a jack stand. So it's a better jack than what comes with your, a lot of vehicles maybe still and used to come with, like one of those jacks you kind of crank. These are the kind that you just go boom, boom, and jack it up. Then you stick a jack stand underneath that, and it's what a lot of do-it-yourself mechanics and even real mechanics are gonna have those in their shops to go along with the lifts they use. But they're gonna still have those floor jacks. It's standard. So I was able to borrow that, which gave me a little more room, and I was able to basically saw off the old rusty muffler, grind off some bolts with angle grinder tool, and get the new parts up in there and bolted back on and clamped back on, and it was a success. So I chalk it up to save it. At the very least, I saved $200, probably more like $300 or more dollars, realistically. So in the future, I will maybe do some videos like this is how you hook a shop back up to your vehicle, because I did learn that on YouTube. I could probably even put a link to the guy who taught me that, and that's a really neat tip, because I wasn't able to actually see the hole because it was kind of up and up on top where I just could not, there's no way to see it. And then everything else was just kind of, I've used used a reciprocating saw before for like light construction kind of demoing and just other things. And then I cut bolts with an angle grinder before. This was a little different. You gotta make sure you're wearing safety glasses, and long sleeves are good and gloves are good. But in the future, I will maybe make some videos. I just didn't think that before I did this that I was much of an authority on those sort of things, even though I do know how to operate them. It's not like I do this for a living. So in any event, I've gone on way too long. I've got the video that shows, at least it shows some of the tools I used and the old muffler and what it's like new. I start the car. So all in all, I'd say it was a success. Anytime you can save some money and do it yourself and not really get hurt and don't damage your property, that's success. 2 hours of work, it was dirty and, wasn't the most fun thing I've ever done, but stack that up against giving someone else $200 to $300. I mean, for me, that's a lot of money for someone that's a broke vegan. So anyway, that's what this video is about, and I promise in the future, much more production quality. Now I'm just gonna do it, and hey, if I get the footage and I look like I'm not knowing what I'm talking about, don't post it on YouTube. If I think it can help somebody, go ahead and upload it. That's what I'm gonna do. So awesome. All right, Broke Vegan out. 2009 Jeep Grand Cherokee here. Let's see if we can use this little stick to see what I did. It was really loud. So, let's see, I don't know if we can see that. But you can probably tell that's a new muffler and some surrounding parts in there. It was really loud, is the point. Take a look over here. This is the old muffler, and that's my finger going into the old muffler. More holes there. Anyways, it was pretty loud. And I should have filmed the whole thing, but I kind of got going on the job. There's some other parts I had to cut off. Had to cut off. I had to cut off a couple bolts that held this flange thing on. And I had to cut the muffler off with what's in this bag right here. And other people that know about tools will probably guess what's in here. And I did end up cutting my finger at the very last thing. I went to get a clamp to finish the job, and I forgot to put my gloves back on, and the clamp had a sharp piece on it. So after grinding stuff and sawing stuff, that's just a reciprocating saw, and metal blades to cut off the muffler. I had wanted to cut off this part, which is a kind of a flange that meets another flange, but the bolts were rusted on there, and then I couldn't get it with a sawzall, so I had to borrow my neighbor's angle grinder, which worked great with this whatever cutting blade, I guess it's called, or metal grinding blade, I guess. I got to get one of these. You can tell the fact that I don't own one of these shows you that I'm not like the world's most experienced mechanic or handy guy, but this thing worked awesome. It got through, and it was the right tool for the job. And yeah, it was a little more work than I wanted to, but the thing was super easy to use and kind of fun. And so I'm going to start up the vehicle. I got my keys, and I really should have made a cooler video where I started it beforehand and showed myself doing the work, but I didn't get that far. So I get in here and I start the car. Oh, it's so much quieter. It's like, I think it still has some other exhaust issues, but that was the big one. It used to be just like, it used to be really bad. I could already hear the difference. So